Hello and welcome everyone. Hope you're having a great day. My name is Brian Minick and I am the Chief Operating Officer at Zero Bounce. We're an online email validation platform. Really excited to talk to everyone today. The topics that we have are on email deliverability and the contact-based hygiene. So keeping your list and making sure the list that you are sending to and working with has the best maintenance and hygiene that it can. I'd like to first start and really thank eSputnik for inviting me to share this information with you today. We really appreciate it, and eSputnik has been great partners of Zero Bounce, and we really appreciate everything that we do, and we try our best to help them as well. So really want to thank all of the viewers today for joining, and just a couple things. And for housekeeping, there is a few issues with, I think, posting the comments in the chat. And so if there is anything that you might want to ask, feel free to go ahead and put them in the comments. Or I'll also provide you some contact information for myself, and you can reach out to me directly, and I'll do my best to answer everyone's questions. So with that, I'll go ahead and get started. And once again, thanks for joining. So what I'm going to talk about today is about email delivery and email deliverability. It's such an important topic right now. It is the difference between success and failure. Email delivery means you hit the send button. It's the most basic of things that ESPs might tell you. And email deliverability is whether you placed in the inbox or the spam folder, or maybe it didn't even get delivered altogether. So email delivery is, again, just a very basic form of hitting the send button. You don't know what happens with it. You delivered the email. Email deliverability is really how you're going to be able to measure success. Landing in the inbox is the ultimate key to a successful marketing campaign. And fortunately and unfortunately, it's not that easy. There are some tips, tricks, challenges, and things that you should pay attention to when trying to accomplish this. And hopefully what I talk about today will really help and resonate with some of the things that you do. So what influences deliverability? What influences you to be able to get into the inbox? Well, there's a lot of things that come into play here. There's sender reputation. This is something that's very big. What is the universe used to seeing coming from you? What is the reputation that you have with all of the mail servers and spam filters, not only in maybe your country or region, but across the world? So we're in 2021. Technology is as advanced as it's ever been and will continue to advance. The mail servers are getting smarter and smarter. Their job is to reduce spam in their customers' inboxes. Reduce it. That is their job. So you have to make sure that you're doing everything in your power to not fall into any of the categories that might get you and list you as spam. And so how do you accomplish that? Again, one of the biggest things is sending reputation. So what is the reputation of your domain that you send from? Have you ever checked the reputation of your domain? Something you really want to do. There are ways to do that, which would be to check to see if you're on any blacklists. So you can see if the domain is on a blacklist. You can also check that the IP address that the sending domain is on also might be on a blacklist. If they are, you want to focus on getting yourself off of those. Blacklists are, exactly what they sound. They are going to block you or block anything coming from your domain or anything coming possibly from your IP address. And if that's a shared IP address, could even be more problems. But again, something you want to be aware of. And how do you check that? So there's lots of tools you can go out to check and see do a blacklist check. Zero Bounce offers one on our website. We have a blacklist checker, and we also offer a free Blacklist Monitor for anyone that might want to try that out. So we'll alert you if you get onto a blacklist. And so what you'll do is you'll scan it, you'll check, you'll see if there's anything on there. And if there is, you can attempt to get yourself delisted by sending a request in kind of through that particular blacklist. And each one handles it a little bit differently, but most are pretty easy and straightforward, and they help guide you. So that's one thing that's very important when you're talking about your sender reputation. You also want to think about the frequency that you're sending, the amount that you're sending, warming up your domain, warming up your mail server. So, for anyone that's maybe a new sender and you're like, well, I'm going to send 1 million messages out today, it's the first time, it's a bad idea. You want to follow a warm-up schedule. These are easily obtainable online, but there's warm-up schedules that will help warm up your IP address, warm up your domain, so that the mail servers start to understand who you are, your patterns, and they start to build reputation. It's very important, and it's definitely worth making sure you're paying attention to it. One of the other things that is very important is to understand when you are delivering into inbox and when you're delivering into spam. And so, how do you accomplish that? It's the ultimate goal, right? It is the holy grail of email marketing, inbox placement. And so there's lots of components that go into getting into the inbox. And one of them is something that Zero Bounce we're incredibly passionate about. It is what we do as a company, and something that is very beneficial to our customers and to really anybody who's sending mail or collecting data, which is verifying or validating the email addresses that are in your list or your database, whatever it might be, however you're holding those contacts. And so when it plays directly with reputation, because when your email list and your contacts have been cleaned for any bad email addresses that maybe no longer exist, or some other things, which I'll talk about shortly. Once we do that, when you're sending to the email list, you're going to get a lot more delivery, which is good. And then you're going to get a lot less bounces, which really affect your sending reputation, and ultimately might get you blocked by a mail server or get you on a blacklist. Even to the point where a lot of ESPs or whoever you're using to send mail from might go ahead and remove you from their platform, or suspend you or pause you and say that they're not sure about the quality of your data. So it's very important that you take a step, and we have done it as well. When we go and do our own email marketing, we practice what we preach. We clean our data before we do anything with it, because we know the importance of getting into the inbox versus getting to the spam folder. And so what is email validation? Email validation is, what we actually do is we'll go out, you can send us the list of 1 or 100 million records. There's no size that's an issue. And what we will do is we will actually establish a connection with the mail server and attempt to knock on the door and see if that mailbox exists. And so if it does exist, we'll probably give you a valid response. And there's lots of little detail in between that, but to keep things simple for today, it's, we would give you kind of a valid or an invalid response, and maybe some other risky categories, which I'll talk about. You want to make sure that you're sending to valid contacts. These are people that accept mail, their mailbox exists, and there's some activity going on with that mailbox. There's lots of other mailboxes that might exist on your list, and all of this might depend upon how you obtain this data. So in a perfect world, and this is what I recommend for everybody, you would be collecting the data naturally. You'll be collecting the data naturally, and you would be using a double opt-in process. So in the double opt-in, you would send an email to the person, they would click that they wanted your email. That is the best contact you can get. It's the right contact, and on top of it, they even confirm they want to receive your messages. This is perfect. However, there's lots of other ways to collect data, and we recognize that. So we do have other ways, such as, people are purchasing data, or they've acquired a company and that company has data, or simply they've just been collecting data for a very long time and it needs some sort of hygiene. And so you really, really want to make sure that you do something with this data. What we are seeing today, especially in the B2B world, with everything that's taken place with this pandemic, we have seen lots of emails start churning. And by churning, I mean they're no longer active, or somebody switched a company, or the company furloughed, 90% of their staff and their email addresses are no longer working. Those are going to result in a bounce, and it's going to ultimately hurt your reputation. So what Zero Bounce can help, and what a validation provider can help, is they'll ping that mailbox, understand if it exists, and give you that status back. It's a step you want to take right before you send, because the best time to understand if the mailbox exists is right before you hit send on your campaign. Will also help you remove some of these very risky email addresses, and I'll go through them. So there are some email addresses out there, obviously invalid, you want to just remove. That it doesn't exist, and it's something that you have to keep in mind, that your email list is about quality and not quantity. Okay, let me repeat it: quality, not quantity. So having 1 million email addresses in your database or your contact base is great, but if 400,000 of them are bad, then you need to get those 400,000 out. So the analogy that I can best try to give you is, would you rather have 1 million emails sent into a spam folder, or would you rather have 600,000 delivered to an inbox? I promise you the answer is you want 600,000 delivered to the inbox. That's when you see your engagement come up. That's when your open rates are coming up. Your reply rates or click-through rates, all of that starts to come up. And that's ultimately what's going to drive and make your campaign successful. So you want to make sure that you're sending to good contacts. So what can a company like Zero Bounce help remove? We can remove emails that are very risky. These might be spam traps. Spam traps are something that are typically found on purchased email lists. They're usually grabbed by email scrapers, and a spam trap is an email address that if you send to it, it will go ahead and immediately blacklist you. You basically sent to the bad guy. And the only reason you have that email address is because it was scraped off the web, not done in a proper way. And the email servers and the spam filters do this on purpose. They're setting traps. They want to reduce spam into their customers' inboxes. Remember, that's their job, is to reduce unwanted mail in their inbox. And so they'll put out these spam traps. Zero Bounce has the ability to detect those. So we can help remove those from your list. Critical. If you have a massive database, this is critical, and it's old, you certainly want to do it, because they'll actually even recycle spam traps, and they're called recycled spam traps. They'll take an old inbox that used to be good, used to be a real email, maybe 10 years ago, and they will recycle it into a spam trap, because this email has never been logged into, it doesn't send mail, it's never signing up for things, and so naturally should not have mail being sent to it. And it's what they will do to, in a sense, set you up as a sender. So you want to pay attention to spam traps. You want to get them out of your list. A few more that we have and will help detect are abuse emails, or these are complainer emails. The complainers are people that we have a known history of marking email marketers as spam 10 or more times. So if you're sending cold emails to people that are not used to receiving your email, you want to make sure that you're removing the abusers and the complainers. These people will mark you as spam. It is really detrimental to your campaign to have people mark you as spam. That's when all the lights and the red lights and the yellow lights start to light up, and the mail servers and spam filters start making decisions about you. And once you break a threshold, you'll just start getting blocked. And again, it's very painful to get off of these lists and get off of these blocks. So you want to do your best to make sure you don't get there in the first place. If people aren't expecting your emails and they show up as a complainer, you want to get them out. Some of the others that you want to get out, these might be disposable emails. It's very common for people who want to remain a little bit more anonymous online, that don't want to give out their real email addresses. They'll give out what's called a disposable email address. This might be something, you might have heard it as a burner email address, but it's basically a temporary email address. It exists from 15 minutes to maybe 24 hours. That's how long the mailbox actually exists and will accept mail for. Why do these exist? Well, again, people don't want to share their information all the time. And so maybe they just want the coupon off your website, or maybe they want the white paper that you're offering, or maybe they want to get past the gate, right? So the gate might be your login screen or your sign up form, whatever it might be. They'll use that type of information. They can even break through that double opt-in because they can receive mail. And there's lots of places that offer this. I mean, you can Google 10-minute mail and you will get an inbox immediately that's yours. So just keep that in mind. You want to remove those, because if you go to email them long-term, it's going to bounce and again, hurt your reputation and your inbox placement. Some of the others that we would certainly recommend you get off and think about are the role-based ones, right? The info at, sales at, hello, any of those. They are potentially risky. And I say potentially because there's always an exception to the rule. However, what we practice and preach is the most value that you can get out of your campaign. And for us, it's always removing risk. When you remove the risk, you increase your chance for better hygiene, better deliverability. So we all probably have experienced an email like info at or support at. And sometimes you will receive that maybe on a sign up form. But the question is, who does that email actually go to? Is it the intended recipient? Is it many recipients? So as an example, with zero bounce, some email addresses that we have go to a dozen or more people. And so think about it this way. If you send it to that one email address, info at, and 12 other people got it because it's a group email, you now have 12 chances of someone marking that email as spam because they weren't expecting that email. Maybe one person was in the group, but maybe 11 were not. So now you have one send with potentially 12 marked as spam. Those are not numbers and ratios that work in your favor. They are risky. And so pay attention to them. If you get good engagement on existing ones, that might be the exception base that you want to pay attention to. But if you're not getting engagement, you want to make sure that you're doing something about those contacts. Another one would be catch-alls. These are something that are again, risky emails. And when we start talking about inbox placement, one of the easiest things that you can do and pay attention to is your bounce rate. It's something that every email provider will give you. It's something that really kind of gives you insight to the quality of your list. And so I don't know any ESP that tells you how many delivered to the inbox, but they all are going to tell you how many they're all going to tell you the email delivery, right? Which is the number of emails that they sent. But they never tell you that inbox rate or even the spam rate. And so what you really want to pay attention to is also these catch-alls. They're risky. As a business owner and as someone that's in business, many business email domains, so if this is on a domain level setting, will be set as a catch-all or accept all. That might be the other term you might have heard. And what that means is that the mail will make it past the initial connection to the mail server, but it may or may not bounce once you send it. It all depends upon configurations that might have been set up by that email admin that owns and is operating that domain. And so it's very risky. We see about 40% will end up bouncing on a huge scale of catch-alls. And so you want to do your best here to segment those off. And what we provide as well to help, there are good emails in there. And that's one thing that everyone should be aware of. However, how do you find the good emails, right? How do we know this catch-all is good and this catch-all is bad? Catch-all, the design of catch-alls play a very important role for business. Think of it, in your own seats. A coworker leaves, somebody leaves the company, and there was mail going to that person. There might be invoices going to that person. There might be important updates, security alerts, anything, right? And so you want to understand what happened with that email. What's happening today is those might get shoveled to somebody else within the company. Maybe it's going to the person who replaced this employee or something of that nature. But you just want to put some attention on the catch-alls. And one of the things that Zero Bounce has done, and we're the only provider that's even taking steps to help recover good catch-alls, is we've come up with a scoring system that will actually go out and seek activity on those email addresses to see if there's, to give you a confidence score of how likely that email is to accept mail or to actually get delivered. And so that's something that Zero Bounce is doing, because again, we understand the importance of getting the most out of your list, getting the most out of your campaigns. And so you can recover some of them, but if you just send to all, you should expect about a 40% bounce rate, which again can be detrimental to the placement of your campaign. So be careful and certainly be cautious here. And there's a lot of other emails that we can help scrub out. These might be on suppression lists, global suppression, do not mail lists, things of that nature. Again, the focus that you want to keep in mind is quality. So, having the hugest email database in the world is something to be proud of, but the quality of that list is very important. You might lose 20, 40, 50% of your list, and that might break your heart. And I know how tough that might be to go tell your CMO or go tell, whoever else that you work with on this project. But what you really want to focus on is the engagement, right? And so when there's less people but more engaged, your percentages come up. So imagine you're a mail server and you start seeing, wow, this guy sends an email and 40% of the emails are getting opened. This kind of tells the mail servers that they want your email. So what does that do? It starts to build you a better reputation. The customers that are on your list who are continuously now opening your email, maybe clicking, maybe doing whatever, forwarding, they're creating engagement on your campaign. This engagement creates momentum, and the momentum is what helps drive success. And so having, you don't want to trick your email customers. They're very smart. You don't want to hide buttons so maybe they accidentally click. Don't link all of your images and hope that somebody on their mobile phone accidentally clicks one of things very nice. The reputation can come into play where you want to also think about and focus on when you are sending your email campaigns. What's the cadence that you're doing? Are you sending always on a Tuesday at 9 a.m.? If so, that's great. It's what the mail servers are used to now. That's what they have, they're used to seeing your emails at 9 a.m. on Tuesday. That is something that would be really important to continue to monitor and to continue to keep up with. You don't want to sporadically send email all over the place. The mail servers start to think like, what is this? This isn't normal behavior. And so that's something that we can also continue to touch on. You can even relate it to something personal, like, your mail is delivered, your physical mail or your FedEx package or your package in general is delivered at usually around the same time every day. You want to have a good schedule that the mail servers are used to. There's a question that came in on the scoring system. So it looks like the chat is working. So if anyone does have any questions, feel free to go ahead and post them in the chat. But the question came in is, how does the scoring system work for catch-alls? So it's a great question, and thank you for asking it. It is a proprietary system that Zero Bounce built. So I can't give you our secret sauce on everything that we do to obtain it. However, what we are doing is we are checking for activity. And so when you submit an email address to us, we run through our algorithms and attempt to build confidence in that email address. The way that the result would look, because I think that's probably the real question that you're looking for, we would provide a result from 0 to 10. 0 meaning that we have we don't have anything to build any confidence. So maybe we didn't find it, which is very possible, or we couldn't find anything at all to build any confidence. So we're going to give it a score of 0. The best scores that we can provide are a 10. 10 is we are very confident that this email is going to deliver, and we'll even back it up with a 98% deliverability guarantee. And so what we recommend is sending to the 9s and 10s. These are the ones that, you know, Zero Bounce would even say, hey, we're confident it exists, and you should receive a 2% or less bounce rate, which for us is what's considered acceptable. So you don't want bounce rates over 2%. And if you guys have them, you need to stop, pause, and check what's going on. Continuing to send is going to just hurt you even more. So that is kind of how the scoring system works. There will be some gray area, and I get a lot of questions about that. Well, what do I do with a 4? What do I do with a 6? You know, we're basically telling you that we see some level of confidence, but not enough for us to say it's going to deliver. We you know, as the score diminishes, the deliverability diminishes. And so what a lot of customers, it comes up a lot, and a lot of customers ask us about it. And what my recommendation is to segment, take your 7s and 8s, segment that into its own campaign. And if you want, you can attempt to send to it, but do so with caution. And you can, whatever you get to a deliverability rate that you are comfortable with is really where you should stop. And so for us, it's always 9s and 10s, but for some, you know, they like to go a little bit lower, but it's just, remember, it's introducing a little bit more level of risk. And so just make sure your risk tolerance is in line with the performance that you hope for your campaign. So that's a little bit about how the scoring system works. Again, it's something to give context, maybe on a bigger scale. Zero Bounce is doing, we are validating billions of email addresses, just for scale here. Millions of email addresses per day validating. So the numbers that we see on an aggregate level, I think might be very useful for everyone. So if we, on a typical B2B list, and I say B2B because that is what I see the most people doing. They're sending a lot of emails on B2B. We'll see about 30 to 40% of the email list end in catch-all. That's a lot, right? And there is no way to actually validate it, just to be clear. It's impossible. By definition, it's impossible. The mail server will accept it. So no validator is going to tell you it's going to work or not work. We're just going to say it's increasing risk. So out of 30 to 40%, put that into, thank you. I'm glad you like the at symbol. The 30 to 40% of your list going catch all. If I'm just going to continue with 1 million records because I think it's enough to have meaning behind it. 300 to 400,000 of those records will be catch all. Now, if you run something through Zero Bounce with scoring, our typical success is to see anywhere between 25 and 35% of those coming back as 9s and 10s. So I now am able to recover about 1/3 of those with confidence. Again, that's the important thing, with confidence. So with the other 2/3, I might not be able to build any confidence on, but you know, if I get you back 100,000 or 125,000 of 1 million, you know, 10% of your total list with confidence, it's a really big piece. And so you want to just make sure that you are doing what you can to have the best deliverability. Question coming in around how often should a list be cleaned? Another really great question. One of the things that we see is, you know, we typically get a lot of customers that have never heard about email validation. They're not paying attention to deliverability. They're just doing what they've always done for years, which is they're just sending email on Thursday at 10 a.m. and their marketing manager puts together a nice piece and they hit the send button. But they're wondering why they're not getting the engagement. So when you have the, when you're talking about how often you want to do it, it's really, you want to do it as much as possible. But what I would say in the benchmarks should be is if you're sending a lot to business emails, you really want to do that probably every 3 to 4 months. You want to run your system, you want to run your database through an email validation platform. And If you've never done it, you want to run the whole list. Don't worry about the ones that are engaging, because you don't also always know, the real outcome of that inbox. So you want to pay attention to it. 3 to 4 months, I would say, is an aggressive, someone who's very passionate about deliverability. And then you, on an ongoing basis, 6 months to 9 months, you should be doing it again. Every business is a little bit different, and so I'm cautioning to give a single answer here. But if you're obtaining new data and doing that very often, you need to do it every time you get that data. So let's talk about maybe 2 different ways that you can do this validation, because I think it's important. We offer 2 very basic ways. One of them is in real time. So if you have a sign up form, a newsletter, any sort of way that you're collecting that data, you can actually put the validation piece, and Zero Bounce is really good. We have pre-built things for this. You can put the validation piece right on your contact form and validate it right on the spot. So when someone goes to input their email address, and as you guys probably know, if you don't have double opt-in, or if you have coupons that people are trying to get past that gate of submit your email, we'll go and validate that email address. If it's invalid, you can block it. And also we catch typos. So maybe somebody spelled the email address wrong. We'll catch it as potentially a typo. So maybe they're on their mobile phone, hit gmail.com or AIL.com instead of AOL. Again, very common things that happen, especially on mobile. They would submit that request. Zero Bounce would check it, say, nope, it's not a good email address. And here's the fix for the proper email address. And so you can even present to your user, hey, that email address might have had a typo. Is this what you meant? And you can even present them with potentially the fix. Very important, and a good way to get the data clean in the first place. So don't collect bad data. You don't have to just collect all data and then clean it. You can only collect good data, which is also really important. So that's one way you can do it. We call it a real-time check, or a 1-by-1. So it's on demand. You send us one email, we give you one result. The point of it is to be very snappy, very fast, and for you to get the results that you're looking for, so you don't hang any users up. The other way to do it is to do it through bulk. And so bulk would be either done through an API. So we have a lot of customers that leverage our APIs, or you can go into our interface at zerobounce.net. We actually even offer a free account where someone can test 100 emails per month. That is always free. And you can upload a list, CSV, TXT, or Excel file. Tell us the column that is the email address if there's a lot of columns on the file, and then we'll go ahead and start processing it. That process, typically for 100,000 records, might take us about 40 to 45 minutes to complete. And out of that, you'll get a really nice set of results. All of your files broken out very nicely, and we will advise you to send to the valids. However, you'll get the detail of all the other addresses, and there's a lot of level of detail. So that is, typically how often it should be cleaned and kind of the ways to clean. So on demand, or in bulk at any time. So there's a question that came in on the catch-all. So catch-all email is validated once the email will be sent to. If there's no bounce, then the catch-all is a good email address, or not, or is it not? So great question. And the answer is maybe. And I know that's not the answer you want to hear, but I can give you a very practical answer and real life response from me and Zero Bounce. So I'm the Chief Operating Officer at Zero Bounce. I oversee multiple teams in our company. And like every single company in the world, we have employees that eventually, go somewhere else or whatever it might be. And so if I have let's say a salesperson that left the company, and this person was getting lots of emails. He had clients, he had prospects, he had everything going on. Now, if somebody responds to him and he's no longer at the company, what happens to that email? Well, with Zero Bounce, our domain is set up as a catch-all, and you can even test that. You can go to our website, zerobounce.net, scroll down about a half a page, and you will see a validator. You can actually put in your email address, put in my email address, whatever you'd like. And if you put in, a bunch of mumble jumble, test 4213, right, at zerobounce.net, you're going to get a responsive catch-all. So what happens if you send to that email address? As you know and assume, I don't have an employee named test 4312, right? And I also don't have that sales rep who left the company. So that's the same thing. It's still a catch-all. All of those emails come to me. Okay. So to answer your question, if there's no bounce, is it a good email? Well, maybe, because I can tell you what starts to happen. I get lots of marketing emails, and I get, not just marketing emails, but I get a lot of spam because I'm now getting it from all these different inboxes. So I'm either unsubscribing or marking as spam because I don't want to continue to get it on an ongoing basis. It was intended for Sally, but Sally's no longer at the company. It has nothing to do with what Brian does at Zero Bounce, and it's really just noise for me in my inbox. So that is a true real world example of just because it delivered or didn't bounce does not mean that it's a good email. It could be. I won't argue and say it can't be. I would run that through the scoring situation, and I would get a confidence score behind that and try to make a better decision. So that's my recommendation on catch-alls, even though it doesn't bounce. The good news is it didn't bounce. That's actually good news. But the question is now, who actually received that email? Was it your intended recipient? And so depending upon your content and depending upon your marketing strategies, you again may or may not want to send to that. So again, just put steps in place to check who you're sending to. So I just want to go back a little bit more to how often this should be done. We are seeing around 22 to 25% of lists are going bad every single year, okay? So a quarter of your list might go bad every single year. Going back to the million records, your million just went to 750,000 valid recipients potentially, just because of the nature of email, okay? If you deal with more consumers and you have a lot more Gmails or AOLs, Hotmails, Yandex, GMX, any of those type of emails, that number might be lower because typically what we have seen is consumer emails don't churn as often because it's just something that sticks with you. It's not dependent on a company or a position or a role. So there, you might have a little bit less of a churn rate on if you're a B2C type customer. But it's something you definitely want to pay attention to. I mean, with the pandemic, we're actually seeing this increase. I think things have stabilized a little bit, meaning we're not seeing as much, things going invalid. But if you have data and you've never cleaned it, and you've gone through this pandemic collecting the data pre-pandemic, you really should pay attention to sending that through a validation platform, because it might really provide the benefits that you're looking for. So, one of the things that Zero Bounce is not just about validation. It's a piece of what we do. It's a large piece of what we do. Our goal is to help you get into the inbox. That is our mission. That is what everyone on our team thinks about, and that's what everyone on our team wants to help you accomplish. So I do recommend, if anyone has questions or you're not sure, you can always go onto our site. We have 24/7 real support. These are not robots. These are real guys. They work for Zero Bounce and they know about email deliverability and they know about validation. They're happy to talk to anybody and really help guide you, answer any questions. And you can always get an understanding of what's going on with your list, because some of it is usually percentage game, right? So you can try cleaning some of it, see what happens, look at the results and send to that and see if there's a difference in the results that you're doing. Another question just came in around the average lifespan of a business email address. What I see is around 1 to 1.5 years. Now remember, we're talking average. So there's many employees that don't make it a year, but there's many that make it more. And so what we see is about 1.5 years will come in, about 1.5 years is the average lifespan of a business email. So besides validation, besides scoring your catch-alls, removing the risky email addresses, what else can you do? So there's a few other things, and Zero Bounce again does offer these. We have a Deliverability Toolkit. So it's something that we have just recently started to work on, and we started putting out into our customer universe, and the feedback has been really good. So what we're offering, and everyone can actually get one of these for free every single month, is we have 3 tools today. We have a Blacklist Monitor, which is what I was talking to you about before, which will help you understand if you are ending up on a blacklist, whether that's your domain or IP address. We support IPv4, IPv6. You put it in, and if we notice that you get put on a blacklist, we're going to send you an email, let you know what blacklist you're on, and try our best. We can't do it for you, but try our best to guide you with a link to here's how you can get yourself delisted or request to be delisted. Really important that you're paying attention to that. I recommend you set up a monitor for your IP address and your domain. Secondly, we have an inbox placement tester. This really is going to help you understand how well your reputation is today, or as you continue to hopefully work on it. What is an inbox placement tester? So what Zero Bounce has developed is we have around 20 seed accounts. These are accounts that Zero Bounce monitors. These are email addresses all over the world. So Zero Bounce is working, we work with customers. We have in every single country, we are 24/7, office in Europe, multiple offices in the US. And we are, we're really just nonstop. But we have an inbox placement tester that you can put, you can create a custom list maybe on your campaign, and you would send a test to our seed accounts or inboxes. And what we'll do is we will give you a result that will show you which email addresses were inboxed on and which ones went to spam or which ones never made it. So if you have AOL customers, Gmail, Hotmail, Yandex, GMX, all these types of accounts, we have different inboxes for those, and you can send it to us and we will let you know what has actually taken place and where your mail got delivered. Again, this is really important because remember, it's about quality, not quantity. So now you've done everything with your list. You're not on a blacklist. You send an email and you're landing in spam. What happened? Well, it could be your content. It could be your reputation in the past was hurt. And so now you're working to get it back. It's going to take some time. But it's something that you want to, it's going to give you insight to your campaign. We've seen people simply change some words. Maybe they use the word free too much, too many exclamation points, too much bold, right? And you can send another test, and maybe you now went from spam on AOL to inbox on AOL, simply by changing something before you sent your campaign. So we'll have a massive impact on the result of your campaign. So it's definitely something I really recommend everyone tries. Again, no risk. You can try it for free on Zero Bounce. And then the last piece that we have is a email server configuration tester. And what this will do is we will provide you another email address. It's a unique email address for you. And we will go ahead, you can send an email to it from your whatever ESP you're using. And when we receive that email, we're going to break that, we're going to take the email and process it. When we are processing it, we are checking your email server configuration against RFC standards. So you will have things like is DKIM set up, is SPF set up. It is incredibly techy, even a little too techy for me. But if anyone in here is looking for any of the nitty gritty details about your, is the mail server set up correctly, we're going to give you the answer. And so again, you can do that for free. It's important. You need to have the right records in your DNS to make sure that you're a permitted sender. These are little things that sometimes people don't think about, but can have a massive impact on your reputation. So if you don't have the right DNS, when the mail servers go out, they check that DNS to see if you're supposed to be sending email. They're expecting email from this, Constant Contact or MailChimp, whatever it might be. And if it's yes, they'll go, okay, this is really the right person, deliver the mail. But if that record might not exist, they're going to go, no, I think someone's trying to spoof this domain. They're trying to, use a good domain and get spam. And they just they'll literally just mark you as spam. And so something, again, I really recommend people check out. A question came in around how many emails per day do you do on a warm-up domain? It's not a brand new domain with no sending history. Great question. So we recommend we start very slow. This might depend upon some of the how big and how much quantity you're trying to send to. But the best examples I can give, because I'm doing this day in and day out with our business development team, we will start with anywhere from 30 to 50 emails per day per person, and then we'll start to ramp those up and usually start to double them every couple of days into a week. But we're paying attention in the meantime to the open rates and click-through rates and reply rates. If those start dropping, we don't increase volume, we hang tight. So that would be kind of my recommendation, to start very small. Now, if you're trying to get into the millions, yeah, it might take you a month to be able to do that. And it's okay, you're following a good practice. Once you get to a million, then you have the warmth is there. You're in a better place, so you'll have much more ability to send higher volume, but it will take some time to get there. And you really just want to be patient, because again, remember, if you take anything away from today, literally anything, the most important thing I can say is please focus on quality, not quantity. Inbox versus the spam. Follow inbox. You want to be in inbox, and it's going to provide you with the best results. So with that, I'm going to start to kind of wrap up here, and as we really start to talk about looking into email verification, there's going to be quite a few people out there. Few things I just want everyone to pay attention to is, it's something we take very, very seriously and are very passionate about, is the security of your data. What's happening with the data? What's the accuracy of a validation? Because not all services created equal. Please remember that. You want the highest quality of accuracy, and you want someone that's passionate about your data. What does that mean? So when you send us your list, Zero Bounce has no ability to go open your file, take your data, and do anything with it. We would not sell your data. We would not retrieve your data and go do anything with it. However, there are companies out there that will do that. So be very careful who you give your data to. Again, something we're very passionate about. We delete all data after 30 days, or you can delete it on your own. And when we say deleted, it's gone. Don't ping us and ask us if you can retrieve it because you deleted it. We can't help you. We really deleted it. So just make sure you're paying attention to these type of things. We're GDPR compliant and also UK compliant with the recent changes. Infrastructure is only in Europe or in the EU. And so it's very, very important. And we just want to make sure people are practicing safe data transferring and what happens with that data. There's, again, massive data breaches recently, and be careful who you send your data to, because ultimately it was your data and your customers, and what that might mean if it gets out there could be bad. So be careful with that. And the other part, just talk to our team. Zerobounce.net is our website. My email is Brian, BRIAN, @zerobounce.net. If you have any questions, you're welcome to ask me. And you can also talk to our team on live chat. So I would really recommend that. We do consultations as well. If anyone has specific questions or wants to do a test run, maybe you have large quantity, you're not sure what to do. We're a partner for our customers. We don't just sell you a service and we don't exist. If you call us, we're going to pick up the phone. If you chat with us, you're going to get a person. So we're really passionate about this type of stuff, and just hope that when you're going out and looking for things, that you pay attention to some of those, because it is important. And if you have an issue, there's always someone there. So with that, I am going to start to wrap up here, and I really want to thank eSputnik for inviting me today. I hope this content was good for you, provided insight and actionable information that you can do something with. If you're not sure where to start, just come contact us. We're happy to help you. we can crawl together, we can show you the way, and we can hold your hand. So, if there's anything that we can do to help, we'd be happy to do so. And yeah, I just want to thank everyone today for spending some time with me, and thank you very much. And thank you to